a little tip perhaps for some people is like what you would do in the office as well is
I've seen some pretty personal ones that have got stopped from going through. You don't seem like you're that confident. You don't seem like you believe in yourself. I was sitting there like, that's nothing to do
savage.
with the video.
Just like, it just sounds ridiculous, but it is like, that's what happens.
So girls, I wanted to talk today about something. It actually came into my mind when I was reviewing videos the other day, that there seemed to be a bit of miscommunication between a brand and an actual creator on the platform. And it kind of got me thinking about, what is really important is the communication between brands and creators, and how sometimes, miscommunication, we kind of all know, happens a lot, and like how could it actually be avoided, and things that maybe we've seen. So my question to you today is, for a creator, what would be the best way for them to actually manage communication with a brand in terms of what they're going to say, and how to like make sure everything is really professional and well done?
I feel like you just used a keyword there, like professional. Like, because I feel like a lot of the times what I see in the messages is that people treat it a little bit too like free roaming, like just chatting with their friends, or like, you have to remember that this is still like, it's almost like your work environment. So it's like, I always imagine that my messages are actually emails, if that makes sense, on that chat. And obviously you don't always have to keep it as formal. Plus just kind of read the room as well. Read the other side, how they communicate with you too. But just try to keep it like, just like with good manners and professional sort of, manner in general. Just keep it professional, and don't use words that you probably wouldn't use in like an office environment. Keep it like, if you don't know the name, just make sure that you say like hi team, or, address them somehow. Don't just be like, Maria, what do you think?
Yeah, no, 100%. Try to, it's like you said, just read the room. If the brand is like extremely friendly and it just feels like very relaxed, I guess you can be a bit more relaxed, but again, not too relaxed. Like you can't say like hi mate, or things like that, or you're just
And
like,
we see it, and we see it
or whatever,
happening.
Yeah.
It does happen though. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that too. So even from the brand side, I mean, the brand was like this, like started to look like this. The creator was just like, oh, okay, I'm in this mood now, so we're just like super chill, Yeah. So I was just like, you choose to do that for sure, but
I wouldn't.
remember, yeah. I mean, remember that everything is your business card, like,
Yes.
remember that if you want a second like collaboration, you might not be considered, because the brand will be like, that one wasn't that professional,
Yeah.
judging by
like
the way of the words using.
I feel like it's a very fine line sometimes between, like, obviously be yourself, put your own personality into it, because at the end of the day, you're a creator, they're coming to you for your personality too, to an element. But I think it comes down to the fine line between be professional but not too lax, that then they nearly think that, oh, you don't care, or you're not actually taking it serious. I think because for a lot of brands too, like as we all know now, like UGCs became massive, and it's a massive career too for people, that you want to make sure that what's going to differentiate you between someone else who's just as good as you. Okay, what's your communication like? And I think too that kind of brings us into as well about like actual time frames for things too. You want to be getting back to brands within like a sensible amount of time too, because for brands as well, they could very quickly just get fed up and be like, they don't care, they don't take this serious. There's a heck of a lot of other creators out there, I'll just go to them instead. So I think that, what do you think, guys? And I think that, to me, I'm like, I always like to reply, especially on platforms, if they message me, if not that day, definitely the next day, and never know later, because you just don't want to be known kind of for that too.
Well, like I would say as well, is a little tip perhaps for some people is like what you would do in the office as well. It's like, if you don't have the answer, or like if you are out and about and doing something and you literally physically cannot know, like answer the question, just acknowledge the message and saying, I'm going to come back to you on this tomorrow, or in 2 days when I'm back, or whatever, just so they know that you're not just ghosting them. Because a lot of the times I feel like they would just be like, oh, great, another one, great.
Yeah.
And then that can be extremely frustrating. I feel like being a marketing manager, from the flip side, it's really frustrating to work with people who don't answer in a timely manner.
Yeah.
we're not expecting you to be like, you know, on it every second of the day, obviously, but just remember that this is a business and someone's livelihood based on that. So you need to remember that most of the, you know, brands that are using Clip are SME brands as well. So like, just remember that this is very important for them to have those solutions quite quickly. And that's the, you know, USP of Clip, is that we do have that quite quickly. So we need to remember that this is a very important aspect of it. So yeah, I would definitely say that the timely manner is a key.
I think in line with that as well, it's so important. If you get accepted for a collaboration, or you're now going to do work with a brand, let them know too, by the way, if you're going to be in holidays very soon after, or if you're going to be out of office. Something I always like to do is like, by the way, because sometimes too, brands, as much as you could get accepted, you don't know how long it's going to take them to ship and get to you. That could arrive tomorrow, it could be the next day, or it could be the next week. So your availability will change too. So something I've started doing and always like doing is just keeping them up to date with like, hi, by the way, just to let you know, if this doesn't arrive by a certain date, I'm actually away, and then I can get it penciled in for XYZ. Just because too, I feel like it keeps everyone in the know, and also manages expectations, which is so important, because you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Whereas if you're able to say, look, I'm actually going to be away, or for example, there for me, I went and got married, so I was not taking on anything, and then brands coming in, I was like, actually, I'm out of office, I'm not doing things for a while. So then they were like, no problem, let me know when you're back, and then you can continue it on. Because also too, you want to nurture that long-term relationship of them being able to actually trust you, that you have a bit of integrity, and you're not just going to ghost them again too.
Yeah. And also think about like sensitive like situations. I know they're not ideal, and I honestly don't encourage them, but there are situations when brands need the video quickly for some reason. They just realized, I need the video, I don't know, in 3 days.
For yesterday.
I didn't, I didn't realize that I need to create a campaign like 5 days ahead and whatever. But things like this can happen. And then if you can't really fulfill this, just let the brand know. Like, oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that you're on a sensitive like time frame. Just so you know, I won't be able to do this. So you can choose another creator to do that instead. This way, the brand hopefully will understand that next time they will have to think in advance when creating a campaign. And then you're also super professional and letting them know beforehand that you're not able to do this. We got emails like, oh, the creator didn't reply to us. And then I checked the messages, and then they sent the message today, let's say at 10 o'clock, and then they emailed us at like 4:30. And then I'm just like,
just relax a little bit.
It's not be working. Like for some creators on the platform too, they still have their full-time job. They may not be able to get back until the evening time anyway. So
I would say like half a day, or like, you know, morning, evening, morning situation. That's allowable, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Then these situations happen when the creator is not replying to the brand ships the product. That's another problem, right? The brand ships the product because they have access to the delivery address, and then the creator doesn't reply, and then obviously everything comes back to us and be like, oh, this is not a professional environment, you guys are a scam, blah 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 blah, you know. And then we're just like, I'm really sorry about the situation. There's like moments when we can't really control these things. In most of the situations, obviously we reach out to the creator, even though you both know that we send notifications every single time a brand ships the product, you have new messages, so they should be aware. If not, the only solution, and that's tested like by me, by Andrea, is for me to just email the creator with the subject urgent matter and be like, hey, I'm the founder, just freaking reply to the brand. Like at this point is not professional and your account may be suspended. You don't want to be in this position. Like no, it's not going to look good on you. Like neither for us, the platform, because there were situations where the creator didn't reply. It was their first collaboration, and we had to just like suspend their account because I mean you clearly not here for the right reasons. So I'm sorry, but that's how it works.
How are people supposed to trust you? You know, when you, especially if you F up right at the very beginning, then it's like, you kind of give us no choice. One more thing that I would say in kind of regards to the time frame and everything is like, just when you message anyone, or anytime you have that little thought in your head, like, I'm gonna just ignore it for now, just think about how you would want to be treated by the brand. That's how you should act. I feel like it just works in any sort of life situation or anything that we ever do. Just treat people how you want to be treated. So, you know, if you do want to have that slow, like slightly more chilled approach to things, just don't be, as Maria said, don't be too like, I don't care. But just introduce that personality kind of style of your messaging to people that are still professional, but with that kind of like more chilled tone. And the same with the deadlines and timeframes. Just make sure that you do things how you would want people to do them for you, because it could very easily be swapped around. We all know that the deadlines and timeframes obviously involve both sides. And I feel like this is actually a good point as well to discuss. Girls, what do you think about because we obviously discussed the side of the communication kind of prior to working, right? So like the time frame of that reply and stuff. But what do we think about the edit requests and sort of that sort of communication when the product has already been sent, the content has been created, and now is the time to communicate with the brand? So how do you girls think, what's the key here?
I would say, even for this, always have an open mind, both parties, in terms of, from a creator's point of view, like anything you do could be amazing, fantastic, you might think it's great, but from the brand's point of view, they might have different visions. That just always be open to the fact that they may come back. So always keep an open, nice mind in terms of, if they come back, you're like, wait, my video was great, why they want the edits? Just reply back, obviously nice, because at the end of the day, you're wanting to create something with them that they'll be like, they were so easy to work with, I'll work with them again. So you want to make it as seamless as possible. So I'd say if a brand comes back with an edit request, just reply back like, yep, no problem, and sort it all out, and like kind of do those things that like they've asked. However, what I will say on this is, before it gets to that stage, always make sure you're reading that brief, because a lot of times when I'm giving feedback, the edit requests I can see, it was listed in the brief, or the brand's having to say, as per the brief, or you didn't read the brief. And to be brutally honest too, this just comes back to attention to detail. Like, you need to actually be making sure that when you're reading that brief, when you apply for that campaign, you read that brief, that you're actually following that brief, because you don't want to have to waste time. They end up having to redo it again, and to be brutally honest, it's on you, because if you didn't read it correctly. From the brand's point of view then too, I'd say is, if a brand has asked for a re-edit, remember it's a person at the end of the day at the other side. Like, people can make mistakes. Maybe the vision you had in their head, they didn't fully get. That is okay. But when you're just communicating that, because sometimes, I know Nicola and Maria, you can agree, brands can be really savage with their feedback at times. And sometimes you're like, it is a person, and it doesn't. Sometimes, also too, speaking of which, I've seen some pretty personal ones that have got stopped from going through. Like,
I was literally, I know. And I would be like, I would take that personally. Like, I'm reading that and I'm like, I would be like,
Slight side story here before we go back to this bit, because I know Maria too will probably have bits, but I've seen in messages some brands replying back to creators, and thankfully, so as within Clip, like, messages get reviewed just to make sure they're okay. This is something for a creator that not until I read it was I like, holy shit, they've probably saved me a few times too, that like it got stopped from going through. But this basic message was, long story short, basically talking about a person's demeanor, about how, you don't seem like you're that confident, you don't seem like you believe in yourself, you don't seem like you can talk that well and all. And I was sitting there like, that's nothing to do with the video. Yeah, I was like, you don't need to be doing that. But it was stopped from going through, thank God. And then I just seen then the message did go through, which was just a simple like reply, and then the creator replied back too. And I was like, thank you, you didn't need to do all that. So I know I've side storied here, but what's your thoughts on that, guys? Or even Maria, I'm sure you've seen.
Yeah, it's thankfully there weren't so many situations like this. It was I think it was a guy, probably. Yeah, it was a brand, and he was complaining that he doesn't have good applicants in his list, and then the applicants that are there are just ugly and old or something like that.
And Maria is like, you're talking about my children.
Literally though, because you're protected.
It's like reading that email, like trying to read it. It was just like one line, like nothing else, but it was just so like mind-blowing. And I was just like, you are idiot. You're an idiot. Like, you are just so...
Just rude.
Just to point out here too, UGC isn't meant to look authentic. It's not meant to be like models and like people that are so superficially unrealistic for the everyday person. They're real people. It's real people.
But also it's like, some things I feel like you would maybe think if you're an asshole, but then to write them or to say them, that's another level.
I personally think it's worse emailing that than sending a DM, because a DM's less formal, that you could potentially, like if you're texting on your phone, get away with. Email, especially for brands, gonna be more email desktop. Like that's very, do you know what I mean? Like the mind.
That's that could be like, yeah, that's like an evidence.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
That's
trying,
shocking.
'cause most of the times, and I need to work on this a lot, most of the times I really put my personal thoughts into it, and it's not okay, because I need to be I'm a business
Objective.
owner, to be professional, and to be, I mean, you can't really be objective in this situation.
Yeah, I was gonna
but-
say, I feel like you must find that so hard to keep personal business set. Well, it is that, because people probably are, and you're just like trying to not have the emotion when there's obviously emotion there.
Yeah. And I am an emotional person, my default. So it's just like,
No, are you?
Why sometimes, but and I was just like, okay, I can't reply to him now because I'm just going to
fuming. Yeah.
So I was just like, wait for a couple of like hours. I replied, and I was just like super professional. Hi, I'm so sorry to hear that you couldn't find the right creators. Blah blah blah. It's just
shocking.
So yeah, and then so like these situations, they can happen in the messages for sure, but there's some very like rude emails coming through, both on the like on
both
ends. Both ends. It's not just the brands. Creators are also reaching out to us, and sometimes it's just like,
tell us a horror story from a creator. I'm like intrigued now. I'm like, what's happening?
It's but this is also part of the communication process. Okay. So basically, I had this creator that was complaining about something. I don't know. So many things. She was complaining about so many things. The creator was just. It was just complaint. It was just an email full of like complaints, like, and the way that she was addressing them, it was very aggressive, to be honest. Like, I could almost feel like she was just yelling at me, you know. And then sometimes when I use the magic word, because that's how I call it at this point. Hi, this is Maria. I'm the founder. Sometimes it is so much better. People are just like, oh, that's. They don't say it, but I could feel it in the email, you know, like, I'm talking to the founder. And that's why I'm telling them that I'm the founder, because I care. Like, hey, I'm in these emails, you know, I don't like, obviously. And she was just like going full on like, oh, you're the founder. You just want to make money. You just want to do this and that.
God.
Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh. Okay. So I kept like trying to explain to her, oh, yes, I know the problem. What was the problem? I think she was telling the brand to get the collaborations outside the platform or something like literally inside the email, inside the messages, you know, like just like that. And I was just trying to explain to her, like, look, this is not sustainable for us as a business. You know, it's not about making money. It's just about the fact that, do you realize that when you log into Clip, you have a list of opportunities that you just have to apply to. You don't have to cold reach out people, right? You don't have to pitch yourself, whatever. You have everything in that platform. You have your videos, you have your application message, and that's
you
it.
Get paid timely, right? You get paid, you don't have to wait for 30 days or nothing like that. Like,
yeah, exactly. So the brands are asking just for a round of edits. You know, there's like, I mean, do you understand the way that it works? Like how easy it is to actually be on the platform? No, she just keep going, like
not
keep
having
going.
it.
Like, you just want to make money. Like she literally said this in every single email. You don't care about the creators. And
it's like there should be another name, because it's like, it's no longer Karen. It's like, because it's like more, there's more aggression, because I feel like Karens are a bit more passive aggressive, aren't they? But this is like full on.
It's
like this would be like,
what's the Jen said of Karens? That's the question.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it would be something like Rita or something.
Yeah.
Like Rita. She would have that sort of energy. Because I feel like that's crazy. Because the thing is that we often forget that we discussed the briefs and the timely matters, and obviously not being rude. That's like, that should be already a given, I think. The communication, what we understand as communication, is from the moment you apply to a campaign. That's the communication starting, because they get a communication that you applied to their campaign. So this is where your communication with the brand starts. And I feel like we often forget is that the brief is already, like the brand has already communicated with us what they expect from us. So I feel like this is very important. And it's the same with like accepting the terms of the platform. Don't scream at the founder through your screen because you're not accepting the terms that you have accepted when you join the platform. It's also the communication. Both sides should communicate clearly what those terms are. And it's the same with the brands, and it's the same with other creators. It's the same with people who are involved in the company. It does not matter. The communication starts with the brief, and it hopefully doesn't end ever, right? Hopefully you have that open communication that keeps going. It's like Ali said, the main point of a good communication is obviously to fulfill the brief, to finalize the project, but it's for you to get more projects from the brand. Because if you had two creators who are evenly good, right? They're the same level of like quality, aesthetics, vibe, everything. But one of them is just a little less communicative, or the vibe is just not there. Who do you think the brand will go for with the next campaign? Like if you have a choice, obviously you would go for someone that you just get along with more. That's just natural. So I feel like just stay open, keep that communication open, and just make sure that both sides are on the same page at all times. And I feel like that would be a good moment to actually start talking about the other side of the equation, which is brands communication, because this gets just as messy and interesting as the creators.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. One of the problems that I have is brands will approve a creator and then that's it.
They
just
message.
approve the creator, they don't message.
Yeah.
They send the product, that's it.
So,
and sometimes they don't even have a proper brief, and then the creator will definitely, hopefully, and also this is something that I want to mention to creators: if you see that the brands are not reaching out to you, just reach out to them first and be like, hey, thanks for approving me, blah blah blah. Is there anything else that you need from me? Or
That's a
if
very
you have
good
any questions
point.
about the brief, because sometimes, as I mentioned, the brands will not message, they will send the product, the creator will not
know what to do.
what to do, right? And then it's just going to be very messy for all the parts. Obviously, we're trying to reach out to the brands to be like, hey, can you please reply? But at the same time, they're getting the same emails from us that are, message notifications. So it's pretty much the same thing. Sometimes, brands don't even reply back. So
I personally feel like now when I'm reviewing videos, and I'll always like just kind of got into the habit, if I'm going through, I'll like click view conversation just as I'm like watching it. It always nearly gives me kind of like, when I don't see anything in that conversation. Because straight away then I'm like, number one, for a brand, and even to just circle back around to what we were on about earlier, saying that like brands won't even speak and they will just send products and then the actual creator will ghost. My advice probably would be, once you accept the applicant, send them just a quick message saying, hi, I look forward to talking to you. It doesn't have to be long. Just put it in, and if you've had any changes since in the brief, because I have seen too in re-edits as well, brands will send, oopsies, we meant to say this, and like, that's on you. You should have had that in your brief because the creator wasn't to know. So like, just to have that line of communication. So if a brand doesn't message you first, as Maria said, message you them, and always put in that too, like, is there anything else? Or even talk about, like, I've seen some creators, it's a lot to do, but I have seen them do it. They'll put in like a full on, like, what's the kind of vibe you're
questionnaire.
Like a wee mini questionnaire. So then the brand will like fill that out. Now they don't always reply filling it out, they'll just go back with the generic reply. But when they do, then that means that creator has like all the information they could need. So when it comes to recording, they know exactly they're on the same page. Because as we will always say, the aim of the game at the end of the day is no re-edits. You want to be able to know you're on the same page, communicate, send that off. They're buzzing because it looks fantastic. You get paid. Done. And it's simple. I think for that, always, if there's no messages, make sure you're the first then to actually add a message. And also for a brand too, I personally would say, if it was me in the platform, I wouldn't be sending my product unless I've now worked with the
unless there's anything.
I just wouldn't send it now if you haven't even messaged them, vice versa. Because once again too,
it's like, are you real?
If they're no longer available, what happens if like there could be things in the background? So safeguard yourself too. Don't send until you actually message and they reply.
I was literally going to say, I've had quite a couple of situations where the brand would accept me after months and I wouldn't even remember that I've applied. And then I'm on holiday and I'm there like, hi. So this is the thing. This is where you can start a communication being like, hi guys, just before you send the product, just just to let you know, I am away. I'm going to be back on this and this day. If you're still happy with proceeding, here's my address, whatever. This is when I can deliver the content for. But this also saves your bum in case if something goes wrong and then it goes to Maria or then it goes to Clip. They know what you've done. You've been on it. You know what I mean? Because otherwise it can go either way, especially when you're just maybe starting or you don't have that sort of like strong card with Clip yet. We don't know. How are we supposed to know? Like, you might be the greatest person in the world and we just won't know. And I agree with the whole point of like sending the product is like, how can you send it to someone that you don't even know is there? Like, you haven't had any communication whatsoever. You haven't even said hi to each other. And you're just, you're just sending it. And I feel like I also like it when the brand confirms the address, just to, they are making those extra steps to making sure that everything is going smoothly on both sides. Because like, we don't want those issues. No one wants those issues. No one wants the complications, miscommunications, or whatever. But they do happen because of the neglection, like, of little things.
I feel like that's such a great buzzword there, is neglect. Like, don't neglect it, either party, from brand or creator too, because both of yous are now entering into collaboration together is the two of yous. And nearly it's like Clip, yes, is a platform that facilitates you two meeting, you two working together, making it as simple as possible. But for both of you now, it's like on to you guys for making sure that communication is maintained as well.
Yeah and then Maria, what do you think about the edit requests when it comes to brands, communication via the edit requests? Because I know from reviewing the clips is that some brands are still confused with how to actually share the edits through the edit request, space. They will also just comment it on like the messages. What is the perfect edit request kind of path that the brand should take? So they don't like three things. What do they like? What do they do?
So I will start with this because I feel like I need to mention it again and again. I know we've mentioned it probably in so many times in our podcast, but before everything happens, before you approve a creator, just make sure that you have all the details in that brief. Please, all the details.
She's begging.
At this point, it's just like so many situations where they were asking for an edit that wasn't in the brief. And I'm just like, this is your brief. This is what you wrote. Do you find this information in here?
I have a story after this as well. You've just reminded me of.
Yeah. So with that being said, please make sure that you put all the details in there. You want the creator to shoot the content outdoors? Put it in there. Do you want the creator to wear a black shirt? Put it in there. Anything that you feel like it's going to convert your video, your customers, put it in there from the beginning. Now,
just put it in there.
Just put everything in there. Like it is just not fair. Like it's not fair. It just try to put yourself into the creator's shoes. That creator put the time and effort into the video based on the brief that you have provided, and then yet you're there and be like, but you didn't mention this, but you didn't tell me to mention this. Like it's not fair. So just please check everything before you start your campaign. Something completely different, right? And again, you're just like, but that was not in the brief. Again, I already did this. So I feel like edits should be in terms of audio, right? The audio is like poor quality. The audio is not clear enough. There's background noise. There's a police car going. I don't know. These things definitely that is like mandatory. Obviously mandatory to have, right? Reshoot. Yeah, because I mean you need to think again before starting to shoot the content and blah blah. I think we talked about this.
Just watch the last episode. Yeah.
So audio, quality of the image, right? Again, if it's low quality, if it's blurry, if your camera is dirty. Again, we talked about these things a lot.
Clean camera.
Yep. If the creator is misspelling misspelling whatever the brand's name.
Yep. That's something actually brands always put into your briefs too, the pronunciation, if it's not clear, because there was a brand here, I can't remember, every re-edit request, like you didn't say the brand name right, and
so if it's a strange name, if you want the creator to say it in a specific like accent or whatever, Again, just mention it in the brief. Even if you don't mention it, it's still okay-ish to ask them for that edit.
Do you know what I just thought randomly? It's like brands, maybe whoever is obviously listening to us right now, if you do have history with giving edit requests, go for your edit requests and see what you requested the most, because that would probably be a guidance for you as well. What is missing in the brief, perhaps, you know, because
100%.
I don't believe that like you work with 20 creators, and if you give edit requests to all of them, that potentially means that something is up with your brief, right?
You know?
You know?
Then there's something there that might be considered for your next brief. Right. If the creator is wearing a dirty t-shirt or
Right, this happens far too often. Like, honestly, like, I've seen this. Like, there's been stains in clothes. I'm like, what?
Why?
Or even too, I'm seeing a lot more now too, the fluff or hair, like, on clothing. And I'm like, you really
That's all I can see now.
Yeah. No, literally. I've seen a couple of different brands coming back and saying that. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
But
that's a problem.
I mean, like, don't leave anything up for question. If you even, like, I've always found going through videos, if you even think they'll see it, they will see it.
They will.
Yeah.
They will.
Yep.
Like, there's no ifs and buts between, it's not that
Yeah.
bad. Doesn't matter if it's not that bad. It shouldn't be there. It should not be in it.
Exactly. And it's the same point as we discussed like in a couple episodes before. It's like they might not tell you that this is an issue, but they will never work with you again.
Yeah.
And it's like that's even worse. That's like it's like a silent rejection,
It's like,
you know,
no
like
one's telling you what's actually wrong for you to fix it.
it's like someone's breaking up with you via like an email, and they're like, "But what happened?" It's your dirty shirt, mate.
I didn't realize that it's actually happening that often, to be honest, but it is a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So these are would you say these are all the kind of like edits that are kind of allowing reshooting, right? Because it's like on the creators that it's like those basic things like your hygiene, like making sure that the quality is high enough, or the audio, right? That would be the only, like, the rest is like, if you want me to wear a different colored t-shirt, but you didn't mention it, that's probably, I'm not going to reshoot, right?
No,
I would
correct.
say off the top of my head too, even to go on to that, like things that would classify as an actual edit to me is if a brand, you had a specific clip in it and they were like, actually, no, if you could remove that clip or if you could put that in. And I'm like, okay, fair. That is a viable re-edit. Or if, now this is kind of on the creator too, if you edit the video too long and it's above what they wanted, cutting it down shorter, that is fine. Another thing too is in the script, if you said something and they're like, oh, if you could just snip that bit out, grand. What I don't think is okay, personally, you may not agree or disagree with me, is if you've said something and it's like a full script rewrite. But what I would say here is be safe, send your script if you're not sure so you can avoid that. Now, typically what I do is I will always send a script prior most of the time to it, if especially, not all the time, but depending on the brand. We spoke about this before. Some brands, you don't really, it's okay. But I don't think if they're going to fully like what you've said and it's a full re-edit, then...
Audio, like if there is a misspelling or grammar issue, 100% I would agree. This is
in
like
captions and stuff,
captions, or even like how you pronounce words. It's like if you mispronounce like a beauty ingredient, they're like hyaluronic acid, maybe not, like just reshoot it. Just use also Google Translate things. Do use that. I use it so much when I don't know how to pronounce something. So you just put it in a Google Translate and use that little button to
the audio
for her to speak, you know.
I do that with brands.
Helped me so many times. Please.
One last thing that I can consider it as like allowable, let's call it, is if the creator has used the product in the wrong way. Like, that is on you. I'm sorry for that. You haven't checked the product website. You haven't checked how it works. And also, if it's a how-to type of video, it's even worse.
It's just like, it just sounds ridiculous, but it is like, that's what happens.
It happens.
It's like you're showing like I don't know, a gadget for like a mount, like a mount for a bike.
Yeah.
And then the phone is like
wobbly. Yeah. No, that's not going to sell anything. You know.
That's how to not to do it.
No, that actually happened. I remember a while back for a hair brand. It was like a hair turban or something, and like all the creators, they were putting it on wrong, and like that was re-edit, which is completely fair that they weren't, because you have to show it properly, you have to use it properly.
Yeah.
Because if you can't, people then would actually want to buy it if they're like, that's not right anyway.
Yeah.
But it's just something to keep in mind, again, for the communication purposes, is like, if you know that your product might, like, if your customers need help with how to use the product, your creators will too.
Yeah.
Realistically, like, just think about them as like your ideal customer, right? So like, what issues does that need to solve? So you need to make sure that the creator knows how to solve those issues before they do it. So it works both ways as well, I feel like, with how to use the product. Obviously, if it's like a foot cream and they put it on their other parts of their body, that's like, come on now, you probably didn't need instructions for that, did you?
Yeah.
But it's like something that is like mounted, or something that needs to be like installed. Just save yourself time and stress, and just let them know how to do it.
What you're on about there about YouTube videos and like even Loom and stuff, I highly recommend doing that. I've worked with the brand and the platform now twice, and they have, because it's like a tech website, which I did not have a clue about. I was like, I don't know this, but they sent a Loom video. So basically Loom, like step by step with screenshots of exactly what they want shown and exactly what they wanted said. So I think too, even when brands are thinking about sending briefs or doing things, have in your mind, if you have a script, if you don't, if you're leaving the opposite creator, that's fine. But if you do, have it split into two, that it's like script, shots, that then you can line it up if your product is a wee bit more technical or confusing, because you've no idea how much that helped me. And I was like, this is so easy, I know exactly what I'm doing. And then it meant when it came to them too, it was really seamless for them to be like, okay, this, and it was easy. Then I had to do a re-edit for like showing something slightly different, but it was simple for me to do that too, that they were happy, I was happy, and then I wanted to work with them again, vice versa as well. But I think to like sum up our entire conversation, I heard a saying years ago, and it has stuck with me since, and I think it's so important, and it is, there is no such thing as over communication in anything, whether that be business or personal life. I genuinely swear by it, I believe it, and especially when it comes to this and talking, managing relationships with brand, you can never over communicate. Always ask.
Yeah. Communication is just as important as quality of your work at the end of the day, because it's how people are going to remember you as a person delivering the service. So we're kind of how we are as a person, as a company, as a brand, ourselves as creators, is how we're going to be perceived, and it's going to depend if we're going to land more jobs or not with that specific person. But I've heard that there are some exciting things happening.
Yes.
In Clip as a platform.
So there's a feature that is already live, which is the ability to ask for a second round of edits for an extra cost, of course. That means more money for the creators. We are going to release the option for brands to give tips to the creators, obviously if they love the video and the work and everything. And we also have this feature where, because we've seen a lot of situations where the brands were asking for the raw videos, and then again, that's something that's time and effort put into it. And basically, if the brand wants to get the raw footage, then they will need to pay extra again to get it, and then creators get paid, of course. So that means extra money for the creators.
It is exciting because it involves money. So it is, it
comes back to helping the industry too, because like there's more and more creators out there, and they're trying to make it more of a full-time thing, that obviously if you can get paid more, it makes that transition a lot easier too. And also too, it means that the efficiency and of how nice it is being on Clip makes it a bigger point of your income then as well, which is obviously amazing. So no, that's super exciting. But I think this has been a really lovely and interesting episode, girls. I think to wrap it up then, always communicate and be smart with communication too. So we cannot wait to see you in our next episode. If you want to keep up to date with everything, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're also on LinkedIn, and of course email. If you have any questions for us, send us a message on any of those platforms, and we'll be more than happy to get back. And also too, if you weren't aware, we've started doing our Instagram lives, but someday hopefully we'll be doing TikTok soon. So we will be also continuing to do them. So as always, ask away a question, and we cannot wait to see you all again. Bye.
All right.
Bye.